I usually try to keep my videos down to less than 1 minute because then it becomes a video short and then it's uploaded much quicker and it just reaches a more vast audience. But today I'm going to take my time a little bit because I'm going to be talking about how I retired early at 53. Now, this is not a prescription for anyone, but I do think some of the knowledge might be helpful for those who are younger in age and probably not thinking about their options, because the research is showing that most of us will have to continue to work at some capacity until death do we part. However, there are ways to gain retirement for yourself and then be able to do more of the things that you like to do, even if they are for monetary purposes. It's very important to have your own life at some point in your life and not necessarily be tied down to something because you have to pay your bills. I hope that makes sense, and I know it does. But anyway, I was an economics major at Morehouse, and one of the things we learned was about micro and macro economics, much of which I've forgotten along the way. But today, we all know that certain things help propel you into success. And one of those things will be owning real estate, another will be owning stocks, another will be owning your own business, not necessarily in any particular order. I will also add to that keeping your expenses down and not living above your means. That's also very important. Making sure that you're paying your bills on time. So if you want this vehicle, this foreign vehicle, for example, and I've owned a couple, they always tend to tear up around 100,000 miles, and I got tired of fixing mine. So, and I never paid full price for them, so I wasn't going out paying $80,000-$90,000, which would have been retail price if I went to a lot. I always bought mine at an auction or at a used car lot, just for the experience. And they are great cars, but they're going to tear up. So avoid those foreign cars if you intend to save some money for yourself. Buy yourself a house. Buy yourself a starter house. I know inflation is high right now. It's like at 7 point some odd percent. But in the long run, if you can hold your house for 20, 25 years, whether you live in it or not, if you can get it paid for through rentals, someone else living there, just holding on to it, at some point your house is going to double, perhaps triple in value, maybe even quadruple in value. And then you will have a lot of equity in that house. And either you can decide to live there, but in my case, I live somewhere else, but still own real estate. You can literally sell one of those properties after 20, 25 years, and then use the equity that you're going to gain from that house after you pay your capital gains taxes and all of that. But that will pay off that house. It will eliminate those property taxes that you owe in that situation. And it could probably, at that time, depending on how long you have been staying in your other house, you could pay off that house as well. And you can pretty much be debt free unless you have a lot of credit card debt, which you need to try to avoid. If you have a bunch of credit card debt, that means you're buying a bunch of stuff that you can't afford. And then we all want things, but there's a trade-off. You can either work for the rest of your entire life until death do us part, or you can plan to save yourself some time towards the ending of your latter years of your life so that you can enjoy them. And that's what we're talking about. Another thing is just being professional in your career. I chose one of those occupations that a lot of people run from. So I was a school teacher, started teaching and said to myself that I was going to teach for 30 years, but then all of a sudden I started getting these new opportunities as an instructional coach, as assistant principal, as a principal, as executive director, curriculum director, and assistant superintendent. So all of these opportunities were afforded to me just being good at my work, which allowed me to retire a little bit earlier than anticipated, because I thought I was going to retire on a teacher salary. But I got to retire on an assistant superintendent salary, which is a little bit different, a little bit more, which allowed me to go a little bit early because my plans were all based on a 30-year teacher contract. These are not difficult things to do. The teaching profession served me very well, even though that was not my first choice as an occupation. It was actually my best job ever. It's my best job ever. And if I had to do it all over again, I certainly would. But at my ripe age, I'm not really interested in doing that anymore because I have other things that I can do and like to do. I just simply like walking, for example. I like going to the gym and working out so that I can be in tip-top shape as I approach my 60s. I like getting up at a decent time, but not getting up rushing and trying to be somewhere. I like cooking dinner now. I like washing dishes. Those things are actually therapeutic for me, and those are things that I didn't necessarily do consistently for 25 plus odd years. But these are just some ways to beat the system, if you will. And I implore you to find ways to beat the system. Now, owning real estate was my primary route to being able to become basically debt-free. But then there's also business ownership, which I do own a business, which allows me to go out and have certain engagements, speaking engagements, and all, as well as some math tutoring assignments and engagements. So that brings in extra money along with retirement funds. The teacher retirement system is awesome, and you get a check every month for the rest of your life. Just depends on how you set your retirement up. And there are other jobs like that that kind of facilitate all of the retirement for you, because if you have to do it on your own, you basically need to save $50,000 a year for 20 years to have $1 million, which is the minimum threshold that people recommend you have when you go into retirement. $1 million, $50,000 for 20 years. That's how you get that million. But anyway, just think about all your options as far as retirement is concerned, because the last thing you want to do, and this is I've been out since April of 2023, so more than a year, and you know, I'm at peace, I'm happy, I don't spend a lot of money. I know people say you need a lot of money, but my lifestyle, I don't require a bunch of entertainment. I don't require being in a bunch of places. I like being outside and just being at the beach. Simple things that are affordable. And so if you have that type of lifestyle, it's going to be very easy. And I also like the solitude. More of an introvert than an extrovert. So I don't have to be around a bunch of people. That can be quite draining for someone like me. I have my peaks and valleys where I want to be very social, and then other times not so much. But I want to be able to determine that, and I want to be able to determine if I have a meeting or if I have a phone call I need to take or what time I need to get up. It's called freedom. Everybody should be striving for freedom, because right now in this capitalistic society, that's not what we have, and it's not designed to be that way. Hopefully you're paying attention so you don't look up one day and everybody's looking down at you because you waited too long and you're no longer amongst the living. Make a way.